So this is what it feels like to be one of the important teams this late in the season. The Washington Commanders, for the first time in years, actually have playoff implications this late into the season. So much so that the NFL said, let me go ahead and get Browns and Miami out of there. Nobody wants to see that. Everybody wants to watch Atlanta versus Washington as it is playoff time. Let's talk about it.
How I feel? Blessed. What I want?
Get back slow. I love the way she rock it. I love the way she move it, shake it on me. When she cry for him, the shawty is the winner. You can tell that shawty's no beginner. She's confident. I love the way she move it.
YouTube, what's going on? It's Juan Gotti here. We have the Washington Commanders video, and in today's video, I'm coming on here with a video. We're going to be breaking down the Washington Commanders being flexed into Sunday Night Football versus the Atlanta Falcons. What does this mean for the Commanders and the playoffs? So without further ado, let's get straight into today's video. Before we do, make sure you guys go down below, leave a like on this video, subscribe to the channel if you are new, turn on post notifications so you get notified when I upload new videos like this to the channel. We're on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so it'd be greatly appreciated if you help me reach that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. Let's get straight to it. So, Washington flexed into Sunday Night Football. This became a real possibility. Well, technically, it's been a real possibility all season long because if you look at the schedule early on, it said to be determined, obviously so they can have that flexibility if what is happening would have happened. But obviously, you didn't know that until later on as the season played out. You look at this game prior to the season start, you probably say, oh, Washington's not that good. Atlanta's probably fighting for a playoff spot in the NFC South. So we're going to just put this as a 1 o'clock game. Miami, Cleveland, that before the season started looked like a game that would have actually meant something. Clearly, it doesn't. So Washington, Atlanta, being flexing in Sunday Night Football is huge. In my opinion, I think it's more so huge for the Atlanta Falcons than it is the Washington Commanders because the Washington Commanders have an opportunity to punch their ticket into the playoffs this Sunday with the win over the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Now, obviously, it's at home, the final home game of the season, so obviously it's going to be a very good treat, and Kirk Cousins get to come back. Last time Kirk Cousins came back to FedEx Field / Northwest Stadium, he beat us with the Minnesota Vikings, so we do owe him one back here in Washington. So, obviously, I want to win. Obviously, it's going to be great to get a win, but if you're asking me, I think we take care of our business this Sunday. This game won't be as important for Washington because right now as it sits, the Atlanta Falcons are sitting at a record of, I want to say, after their win yesterday versus the Raiders, which was not a good watch if you ask me. They're sitting at 7-7. They go on the road, or actually they're at home next week versus the Giants. They're 8-7, and let's say Washington, loses to the Eagles on Sunday. That's 9-6. Now at that point, that game is super important for both teams. However, I'm going in it from the aspect of you control your own situation at this point. So why not end it all Sunday versus the Eagles with a win? You have the opportunity to do that by beating the Philadelphia Eagles, and you put a huge gap in between you and Atlanta. Now, Atlanta is the next closest team to us right now that could potentially get the playoff spot. But again, you still have that 2-game edge over them. Now, it's going to get tricky because if you lose to, let's say, Atlanta, they now have the tiebreaker over you. So just because you're 9-6 headed into that game, let's just say 9-6. Let's go with the theory that Washington doesn't get it done versus the Eagles. You go into that game 9-6. Now you lose, and Atlanta is going to be at 8-7 because they're going to beat the Giants. The Giants don't want. Not saying the Giants can't beat them because they could, but they don't want to win. So they're going to be at 8-7 after that game on Sunday. And let's say Washington doesn't get it done. They're 9-6. Then if Atlanta beats you the following Sunday night game, which I can't see happening because of how poor Kirk Cousins and that Falcons team is right now. But just hypothetically speaking, if they beat you, you're now both going to be sitting at 9-7 after that game. But Atlanta's going to have that tiebreaker over you. So now you're falling out of the playoff picture. So it is super important for both teams. Don't get me wrong. I know at the top of the show I said it's more important for Atlanta. And that's because I feel Washington has a really, really good chance to beat the Philadelphia Eagles and not even make this a contest. I think I read it was 4 different playoff scenarios that happened that they posted on Sunday before the Washington Commanders kicked off versus the New Orleans Saints. They said if Washington beats the Saints and the Eagles, they're punch they take it to the playoffs. And in my opinion, that's the easiest route. So that way you don't have to worry about beating the Saints, you lose to the Eagles, but then you still can clinch a playoff berth if this team beats this team. Now you're putting it in the hands of other teams, and we worked too hard to come this far, right? We started off so good this season, 7-2, so good to put ourselves in a position to make the playoffs. Okay, obviously we pissed the opportunity to win the division away, but we came too far to put it in the hands of other teams. If that's the case, and Washington misses the playoffs, we just don't deserve to go. Because right now we're sitting pretty. Right now we control everything by just winning the games that are in front of us. I think we have a good chance to end the season 12-5. I think this Atlanta team is reeling at the wrong time. They got a good win, but it was versus a bad Raiders team. Now you ask that same Atlanta Falcons team to come on the road into Washington, a team that is not used to playing in the cold. Because at that time, it's December 29th, Sunday Night Football. I'm pretty sure it's going to be a cool 40 degrees. You know, we're used to playing outside. They're a dome team from Atlanta, right? They're not used to playing outside football at this point of the season. So you ask them to come on the road and try to beat Washington. I just don't see it happening. I really don't. The crowd's back into it. The FedEx Field, Northwest Stadium. Last time I was there was the Titans game. It was the loudest game I've ever been to, if you ask me. I see it being no reason for it to be any different, especially with how major this game is for playoff intentions. Now, again, Washington has the opportunity to not say this game doesn't matter, because it does, regardless of the outcome on Sunday. But do you understand the gap that you put yourself between if you're able to beat the Philadelphia Eagles this Sunday? You're sitting at 10-5. The Atlanta Falcons are sitting at 8-7. You have that 2-game edge over them if you're able to get it done this Sunday. I'd argue and say this game this Sunday is more important than the one versus the Falcons, because not that it's going to happen, okay, but since we're talking hypotheticals, let me go ahead and check the Philadelphia Eagles remaining games. I think it's Washington and Dallas and New York. So they got 3 division games. Let's just say hypothetically Washington wins on Sunday versus the Eagles. So now the Eagles are 12-3. We're 10-5. Although it's not happening, the players' mindset is, hey, look, we still in this division race, okay? If Dallas somehow beats the Eagles and the Giants somehow beat the Eagles, obviously we know as fans that is not happening. But to the players, they like, hey, look, we 10-5, 12-3. We can try to win this division. So they're going to play extremely hard down the stretch, and not just in the Falcons game, but this game too. Given the fact that we had them on the ropes later in last game, the first game we played them, and we just let it get away from us late in the fourth quarter, and we were on a short week. We were reeling. Team was not the healthiest. Jaden Daniels got tricked a lot that game. Zach Bond, Vic Fangio, that defense threw a lot at him. We want this one bad. So, again, I'm excited for the Sunday Night Flex. I think it's a good opportunity for the world to once again see Jaden Daniels and this Washington Commanders team and all it has to offer. But I'm looking at the Eagles. I want the Eagles. I wish they flexed this game to Sunday Night Football. Hold on, let me see actually the week 16 slate right quick, or 15 slate. Is it 16? 16? I think it's week 16 right that we're in. Let me look at the week 16 slate right quick, because I want to know who's in the Sunday Night Football window this upcoming Sunday night. It is going to be, let's see if it shows us here. Sunday Night Football is going to be the Dallas Cowboys versus the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, obviously, it's no matter how bad the Dallas Cowboys is, anytime they're on prime time, they're never going to get flexed out, unfortunately. But I would have loved to see Washington versus Philly on Sunday Night Football more so than Washington Atlanta. Now, again, I am not trying to say that next week's game is not important, because it is, especially depending on the outcome of this game. I'm just saying Washington has the opportunity to lessen the importance of that game while with the opportunity to beat the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me actually do this live on air right quick, because I swear I saw it somewhere where it was like, if Washington beats the Saints and the Eagles, they punched a ticket to the playoffs. How can Washington make the playoffs? Let's go ahead and look it up. So it says this. Let's go ahead and see if we can find it. Washington currently sits at an 88% chance of making the playoffs right now, which is mighty high if you ask me. Now, if we're looking at Washington's upcoming schedule, it is obviously Philly, Atlanta, and then Dallas to close it out. That Dallas game scares me more than Atlanta does too, by the way. But let's see if it tells us how Washington could clinch a playoff berth this Sunday. Let me see if I could find it here. But yeah, I feel like the most likable scenario is just beating the Eagles, right? You, with the win over the Saints, you put yourselves in a predicament to where you're one game closer and you honestly control your own outcome. Now, you lose to Philly on Sunday. Now, Atlanta is super important, especially if they beat the Giants, which at this point in time, who's to say they're not going to beat the Giants? Like, who believes they're not going to beat the Giants? And then on top of that, Dan Quinn's old squad. I just thought about that on top of my head. You know Dan Quinn going to want to send him home. You know that. But all honestly, though, looking at this Falcons team, all my sights are set on Philly. But looking at this Falcons team, there's no reason they should beat us, man. Like, they're reeling at this point of the season. Kirk Cousins is playing his worst football. Yesterday I think he had an interception again. He had a touchdown, but an interception. That was not an impressive win over a bad Raiders team. I'm just not really high on Atlanta, and given the fact that they have to come on the road, I just don't see no way in hell they beat us. But again, we have the opportunity to end all that with a win over the Eagles. But I cannot find these scenarios for it. Let me see if I can try on Twitter right quick. Commanders playoff scenarios. Let's see if I can find it. Okay, look. Shout out to, of course, Brandon. J Days MVP, the best Twitter page, the first person to pop up. Okay, Washington playoff berth versus the Eagles. This is how Washington can win. Make the playoffs. They win versus the Eagles, and Washington win plus Falcons loss / tie plus Seahawks loss / tie. They're in the playoffs. Washington Commanders plus Falcons loss / tie plus Los Angeles Rams loss or tie versus the Jets. Washington Commanders plus Falcons loss plus Cardinals loss / tie plus Seahawks loss plus Rams loss / tie. And then Washington Commanders plus Falcons loss plus Cardinals loss / tie plus Seahawks tie plus Rams loss. Like, you see how much you need to happen the longer the list goes, bro? That's why I'm telling you, the most simple way to get in the playoffs and to clinch your playoff spot is literally beating the freaking Eagles, okay? And that's why I'm so locked in on this game. Because I don't even want it to come down to Atlanta. Like, truth be told, it's cool to be on Sunday Night Football. I want to be on Sunday Night Football, not necessarily playing with house money, but playing with house money because we already got our playoff spot locked up. But not necessarily house money because we want to win, because in the players' minds, hey, we still can get this division. You know, it's like, I ain't going to lie to you. Like, just how crazy would it be, right? And this is just me talking because I don't think it's going to happen. But how crazy would it be if we win? We win on Sunday. We beat the Eagles. Then the next week, they lose to Dallas, which Dallas, if you ask me, they probably would love nothing more than to beat the Eagles at this point in the season. So now Philly is 12-4. Let's say we're 11-5, because let's say we beat Philly, and then we beat the Eagles, or the Falcons on Sunday Night Football. So now we're 11-5. They're 12-4. All of a sudden, that Week 18 game could be for the division. So although it's a long shot, right? Could you see why the Commanders are going to be playing so hard down the stretch of the season? Because to them, they still have an opportunity to win the division. Obviously, to us, Philly's not losing to Dallas and New York. Like, that's not happening. But just the thought of it potentially even happens tells you how serious this stretch is for this team. But again, you had the opportunity to really punch your ticket this Sunday. Okay, you don't punch your ticket this Sunday, well, you have another opportunity to do it versus Atlanta, but that game makes so much more importance. You had the opportunity to lessen the importance of that game by taking care of the Philadelphia Eagles. Alrighty, y'all. Let me just put the video in the comment section down below. As always, me and boy Juan Gotti. Like, comment, and subscribe to the channel. We're on the road to 8,000 subscribers, so we greatly appreciate it if you haven't reached that goal as soon as possible. Thank you so much. See you later. I'm out. Peace.